Hey guys, as many of you guys know, I went to test drive Challengers this past Saturday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to drive the 392. Just wasn't able to. But I did have the opportunity to drive a 2018 Dodge Challenger RT with the 6-speed manual. And that's what I want to talk about today. Alright, so let's get into that. So I just drove a white knuckle with the blacktop package. Nothing fancy, but it did have the 6-speed, which is what I was going for. And let me tell you, I absolutely loved my driving experience with the 6-speed manual. And I want to get into that. That's what I want to review. So, before I do that, I have a question for Hemi Mike and Blue Dreamin' and any other 6-speed manual drivers out there towards the end of this video. So, as I was saying before, I really loved my driving experience with the 6-speed manual. So much so that I'm probably 80% convinced that I want the 6-speed manual when I do get a Challenger, or if I get a Challenger. I walked in, adjusted my seat, sat down, put my foot on the clutch, my foot on the brake, and it just felt like home. It fit like a glove. So I go ahead, I hit the start button, fire it up, and let me tell you, that active exhaust is phenomenal. I'm going to have a review on that in a few days. So I go fire it up, I put in the first gear to start to take off, and it had going into first, and like when you shift into second when it's really cold, it's a little bit notchy. Kind of feels like a little more mechanical, like you actually feel like the metal kind of pressing in and kind of clicking a little bit, and I actually like the feel of that. It was kind of nice to get a true feel for when it was in gear. I like that, especially with the first and second gear shifts. So I put in the first gear and I start off. I didn't stall. I was pretty proud of myself. I was pretty happy about that. So I start going off, into second, into third, and the active exhaust makes such a huge difference on the driving experience, especially with the manual, because you tend to drive the RPMs up a little bit more. So you do get a much better driver experience because you hear that exhaust so much greater. It's so nice. But going through the gears, and it had such a nice feel through the gears. Once it warmed up, the first and second gear exchange got a little bit smoother, got a little bit silkier, which was nice. It just seemed to be a little bit like that when it was cold. And all the other shifts were fantastic. Felt so nice. I ripped through the gears. I didn't miss shift. I didn't grind a gear or anything like that. And it was just really nice. And the clutch, it wasn't crazy heavy. I wouldn't say it was light either, but it had a nice spring to it. You had a really good feel for when the gear was engaging or disengaging. It had the sport pedals, so it had the nice rubber knobbies on the gas or on all the pedals, and that surprisingly had a really nice feel to it. I wasn't sure how that was going to be, but it had a great feel for the pedals. It was a very comfortable drive. I absolutely loved it. My son thinks that it felt faster than my Charger, probably because in between gears you're putting more torque to the ground than you are with the 8-speed automatic because of the final gear ratio. So, and another thing that my son said is, he's like, Dad, he's like, whatever you do, if you get a Challenger, get the cloth interior. And I asked him why. I'm like, why should I get the cloth over the leather? Well, he was like, with the cloth interior, when you're banging through the gears and my head slams against the headrest, he's like, the cloth interior softer. So I just kind of laughed my ass off at that. So, if you guys are in the market and you have kids, cloth interior might be a recommendation from your kids. So I just thought that was pretty funny. And here's the question I have for Hemi Mike, Blue Dreamin', and anyone who drives a 6-speed manual. So I had always heard about the 1 to 4 gear lockout, and I wasn't sure whether that was like a regular thing. But when I was driving around the city, and maybe it was because it was more of a rural area that I was test driving in, I never experienced that 1 to 4 gear lockout. And I wanted to ask you guys what your experiences were with that, and like if you know like what the specific criteria is where you would reach that, you know, 1 to 4 gear lockout. Because when I was cruising around the city, it never happened to me, but I did read online that it is an actual, you know, thing. It does happen. So I'm curious to see when it happens with you guys, because it never did with me. So if you guys are able to comment below and let me know, that would be greatly appreciated, because, you know, I just hadn't experienced it. So I'm just kind of curious to see when that might engage or kick in. And the one thing that I was kind of thrown off by and really kind of surprised about, and I guess it makes sense because the transmission's right underneath your seat, essentially, but the gear shifter, when you're holding it and you actually hit a bump, you actually feel the vibrations from the road in the shifter. And I kind of thought that was kind of cool too. I don't know if, you know, others who drive that transmission like drives you crazy, but I just kind of gave you more of a real feel, a real driving feel to driving that 6-speed. I just had my hand resting on it, doing like 4th and like a 25 or something like that, or 35, and I just felt the vibrations from the road because I was going over kind of a rough road, and I just thought that was really kind of interesting to be able to actually feel the vibrations of the car through the actual stick. So it was really neat. But other than that, that's really all I wanted to cover today. I just wanted to tell you guys how much I loved the 6-speed Tremec transmission. It's absolutely phenomenal. I loved every second that I was driving in it. So there's a good possibility, whether it's 392 or the 345, that I will be getting the 6-speed manual, and I'm excited as hell about it. A couple other videos that I'm planning on doing is doing a review against the stock exhaust on the 16 Charger versus my full catback with my Dynamax versus the active exhaust on the Challenger. So look forward to that. I'm also going to be doing a video on the Challenger in regards to if you have a family of 4, family of 5, how doable is it? And I'm going to give you the age groups of my kids and stuff like that and how I think it would fit. So look forward to that video as well. So that's all I have for today, guys. Hope you guys liked it, enjoyed my review, and I will catch you guys soon. And if I post this before Thanksgiving, have a great Thanksgiving. If I post it on Friday, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving and have a good Black Friday. Talk to you soon, guys. Take care.
Yeah.